So this exercise is called plank jacks or plank scissors. It's going to work your chest, your shoulders, your triceps, your core, but also your inner and outer thighs, otherwise known as your adductors and abductors.
And just as Kenny had mentioned, that's an area that is used a lot in the hospitals, especially when going around hallways and you're either pushing a bed or you're going between coworkers, you're always moving side to side. It's always good to strengthen those areas too.
So what the rock star is going to do, she's going to get down into push-up position. Remember, one straight line from shoulder down to heel, so your hips aren't up, they're not down, and her feet are going to be together, and she's going to come out with her feet and back in. And she's going to do a series of those, in and out, just like a jumping jack, except you're in push-up position. This exercise is called the kettlebell swing. A lot of you might not have a kettlebell at home, but it's one of the best exercises we know here at Riverside Health and Fitness. Even around the world, these exercises came out of Russia. It's super, super good for strengthening your hips, your core, your lower back, hamstrings, your entire body.
And just like Kenny said, we don't want to just focus on areas where you're using every day as a healthcare worker. You want to balance out every muscle group. So that will just help optimize your performance at work and using muscles that you didn't realize that you needed to in a lift or just everyday things that you would do as a healthcare worker.
So to start this exercise, the rock star is going to grab the water bottle. Stand up nice and tall. She's going to start swinging that, but she's going to use her hips, popping them back and forth. To do this properly, you don't want to try to lift this. It's not a shoulder lift. She's creating the momentum for the swing from her hips by popping her hips back and forth. And her arms are basically relaxed. They're staying extended, but they're just relaxing, almost like when you walk. Your arms just swing naturally. The arm swing comes from her hips popping back and forth. So the heavier the weight, the harder your hips have to pop. This exercise is called reverse plank kicks. Very good exercise for strengthening your core muscles again, your hips, your flexor muscles, and even your shoulders. One of the reasons that we do a lot of core is because your lower back, you run into people all the time with lower back issues, especially in hospital, doctor's offices. And your core muscles a lot of your core muscles surround your backbone and they hold it in place and stabilize it. Really important to have those muscles strong. I've known lots of big athletes that are very strong. They can bench press 300 or 400 pounds, but they've got very weak core, so they'll bend over and pick up a 10-pound weight and their back goes out. So you don't want that to happen to you. You want to be strong from the inside out.
And it's also important to engage the core when bending over. So, when we did the bent over rows, when we folded over, those kind of exercises required you to tighten, engage the core. So these exercises help you and remind you to do that because that's your center of gravity. That's what holds you in balance. If you ever were to hold one leg up and balance, you're really engaging your core to keep everything tight in that center.
So what the rock star is going to do, she's going to get in reverse plank. She's going to put her hands back, be up on her feet, but she's going to put her legs out forward, so she's on her heels. She's just going to bring one leg off the floor and then switch the other leg. You're just going to go back and forth, bringing those legs up. If you're not used to this, you're really going to feel it. Excellent. This exercise is called Cossak Squats, and it's good for leg strength, leg flexibility, and balance. It's going to work your adductor muscles, your quads, and your glutes.
And like our other videos that worked out the abdominals and the obliques, when strengthening, you also want to integrate a flexibility component because as soon as you start strengthening a muscle, you develop micro tears, and you just want to stretch out your muscles, making sure that you're conditioning them at the same time you're strengthening them.
So what's going to happen is the rock star is going to put her feet apart a little bit, toes are going to be out a tad, and she's going to squat down on one leg and keep the other toe up. And then she's going to come up and squat down to the other side. Now, this is going to be very difficult for a lot of you. If you're not that flexible, probably not going to happen. So, what we can do is we can bring in a chair or something that you can hang on to. And then you're able to get down because you can kind of help yourself and support yourself on any object. That's actually a really good Cossack squat. Now, keep in mind, Raquel teaches stretch and strength. She's been doing it for a number of years, so she's very flexible. If you're not that flexible, take the chair away, you can actually just go down a little ways. So that's a nice alternative for you if you're not super flexible.
And as you're noticing, my hands aren't loading up the knee joint, so it's just above the knee.